Angelina Jolie was enjoying a rare, peaceful moment at a bustling Christmas market in London, her two bodyguards keeping a discreet distance. When a small girl in a worn Santa outfit approached, offering homemade cakes, it seemed like a simple exchange between a celebrity and a street vendor. But something in the child's trembling hands and rehearsed smile told a different story. What happened next would shake Angelina's world and change a little girl's life forever. Snowflakes danced against the tinted windows of the limousine as it wound through London's streets on Christmas Eve. Inside a sleek black stretch limousine, Angelina Jolie sat poised and focused, her elegant white furry coat wrapped snugly around her silk white dress. She was reviewing her speech notes for the upcoming International Actors for Change Gala, an event honoring actors who had used their platform to advocate for humanitarian causes. Across from her, her assistant's fingers flew across a tablet, confirming final event details with the organizers. The soft tapping of keys provided a rhythmic backdrop to Angelina's thoughts as she mentally rehearsed her speech. As the limousine glided through the city's quieter districts on its way to Alexandra Palace, they passed a bustling Christmas market. The entrance gate, adorned with twinkling lights and festive decorations, bore the name Unity Christmas Village in large, cheerful letters. Through the tinted windows, Angelina caught glimpses of the lively scene. A massive central Christmas tree, its lights reflecting off the snow, crowds of people laughing and enjoying the festive atmosphere. The contrast between her isolated luxury and the vibrant market struck her deeply, stirring something within her. Glancing at her diamond-encrusted watch, Angelina noted the 2-hour buffer before her speech. A spontaneous idea took root in her mind. "Let's stop at the market," she said, her voice carrying a note of decision that made her assistant look up in surprise. "But Ms. Jolie," the assistant began, her brow furrowing with concern, "the organizers requested your presence an hour before the event begins. We're on a tight schedule. Deviating from the plan could cause issues with security and the event timeline. I advise you to visit the market after the event or tomorrow, Ms. Jolie." Angelina's two bodyguards exchanged glances, immediately shifting into high alert mode. They knew the risks of an unplanned visit to a less affluent area, especially with such a high-profile client. Despite the visible concern from her team, Angelina's mind was made up. "We have time," she said firmly. "I want to see the market now." The limousine pulled over discreetly at the market's edge. As Angelina stepped out, the cold air immediately bit at her exposed face, a stark contrast to the warmth of the vehicle. Her bodyguards flanked her closely, their dark suits and earpieces contrasting sharply with the festive market atmosphere. Snow crunched beneath her designer boots as she made her way into the heart of the market. The scents of cinnamon, roasted nuts, and mulled wine filled the air, creating an intoxicating blend of holiday aromas. Local vendors offered handmade crafts, traditional foods, and seasonal decorations from stalls adorned with twinkling lights and garlands. Despite her celebrity status, most visitors seemed too engrossed in their own activities to notice her presence. Families huddled around food stalls, children dragged their parents towards toy displays, and couples strolled hand in hand, lost in the magic of the season. As Angelina moved through the market, absorbing the authentic holiday atmosphere, she felt a sense of anonymity that was both refreshing and slightly unsettling. Here, among the everyday people of London, she was just another face in the crowd, albeit one wrapped in a luxurious white coat. The juxtaposition of her world and this one fascinated her. She watched as a young couple debated over which ornament to buy, their faces alight with the simple joy of the season. Nearby, an elderly man carefully selected chestnuts from a roasting stand, the warmth of the fire casting a glow on his weathered face. These small human moments touched something in Angelina. They reminded her of the real world, beyond the glitz and glamour of Hollywood, beyond the formal galas and carefully scripted speeches. It was a world of simple pleasures, of struggles and triumphs that rarely made headlines but were no less significant. As she continued her exploration, Angelina found herself reflecting on her own life, her career, and the causes she championed. The market, with its diverse array of people from all walks of life, seemed to embody the very essence of the humanitarian work she advocated for. It was a microcosm of society, where the wealthy rubbed shoulders with the struggling, where joy and hardship coexisted in delicate balance. Angelina wandered leisurely through the lively market, taking her time to sample the local treats offered by the vendors. She moved from one stall to the next, savoring the vibrant atmosphere and the tempting aromas of freshly made goods. It was only after a while that her attention shifted to a small figure darting gracefully through the crowded aisles. A young girl, perhaps no older than 10, skillfully navigated the throng. She wore a tidy yet well-worn Santa outfit, the bright red fabric contrasting with her dark hair, which was topped by a jaunty little hat. Cradled in her arms was a basket brimming with homemade cakes and candies, her every step purposeful and confident. "Cakes and lollies," the girl called out, her voice clear and cheerful above the hum of the crowd, freshly baked and ready to delight. The girl's eyes were bright with hope and determination, a stark contrast to her threadbare attire behind the Santa costume. She approached potential customers with a mixture of shyness and resolve, her voice barely audible above the market's din as she offered her wares. As the girl drew closer to Angelina, she seemed to hesitate for a moment, taking in the actress's elegant appearance. Then, gathering her courage, she approached, holding up one of her cakes. "Hello, miss," the girl said, her accent thick and her words clear. "Would you like to buy a cake? It's carrot cake, very fresh." Angelina noticed the girl's small hands trembling slightly from the cold as she demonstrated the freshness of her baked goods. The cake itself looked a bit soggy, clearly having suffered from the damp winter air, but the earnestness in the girl's eyes was impossible to ignore. Touched by the child's entrepreneurial spirit, Angelina smiled warmly. "Of course, I'd love to buy a cake," she said, reaching into her purse. She deliberately overpaid, handing the girl a generous amount that far exceeded the price of the simple cake. The girl's face lit up with genuine joy at the kindness, her eyes widening at the unexpected generosity. In a moment of pure, unguarded emotion, she threw her arms around Angelina in an impulsive hug. "Thank you. God bless you with a cheerful heart, miss," she said, her voice soft but filled with earnest gratitude. The sudden embrace caught both Angelina and her bodyguards off guard. For a split second, the security team tensed, but Angelina quickly waved them off, returning the hug with equal warmth. The girl's thin frame felt fragile in her arms, and Angelina was struck by the contrast between this child's life and the opulence she was accustomed to. As they separated, Angelina knelt down to the girl's level, her designer coat brushing against the snow-covered ground. "What's your name?" she asked gently. "Sophia," the girl replied, a shy smile playing on her lips. "Sophia," Angelina repeated. "That's a beautiful name." She reached out, gently stroking the girl's hair in a maternal gesture. The moment of connection was genuine and warming, standing in stark contrast to the cold winter air around them. Angelina's mind raced with questions. Why was this young girl working alone in the market on Christmas Eve? Where were her parents? Who was responsible for her? "Sophia," she began carefully, "do you make these cakes yourself?" Sophia shook her head, a faint hesitation in her movements. "My aunt," she began, her voice uncertain as if testing the words. Her gaze flickered, searching the air as if hoping to pluck the right explanation from it. "She bakes, I sell. Yes, that's it," she finally said, nodding as though convincing herself. "And the candies?" Angelina pressed gently. "Also aunt," Sophia nodded. Angelina's brow furrowed slightly. "Are you here alone, Sophia? Or is someone watching over you?" The girl's eyes darted around nervously before she answered. "Father, he is here. Somewhere." Sophia's vague response and sudden unease stirred Angelina's maternal instincts. A knot of concern tightened in her chest as she watched the young girl, standing there so small and alone amidst the bustling market. Something about the situation felt off. A child working by herself on Christmas Eve, her answers hesitant and uncertain, as though she were piecing them together on the spot. It didn't sit right with Angelina, and she couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to the story. Before Angelina could inquire further, the peaceful moment was shattered by an angry voice cutting through the market noise. "Sophia!" a man shouted, his tone harsh and threatening. The transformation in Sophia was immediate and heartbreaking. The warmth and openness she had shown moments ago vanished, replaced by visible fear. Her small body tensed, and she took an involuntary step back from Angelina. The dramatic change was so alarming that Angelina's bodyguards instinctively moved closer, their hands hovering near their concealed weapons. The jovial atmosphere of the market seemed to evaporate, replaced by a palpable tension that centered around the frightened child and the approaching threat. Angelina stood, placing herself protectively in front of Sophia as she scanned the crowd for the source of the voice. Her mind raced, trying to make sense of the situation. The fear in Sophia's eyes told a story that went beyond a simple scolding from a strict parent. It spoke of something deeper, more sinister. As the angry voice grew closer, Angelina steeled herself for what was to come. She had faced challenging situations in her humanitarian work before, but this felt different. This was immediate, raw, and happening right in front of her. The actress in her wanted to retreat, to avoid a scene, but the advocate in her knew she couldn't turn away. The source of the angry voice soon became apparent as a disheveled man stormed towards them. His face was contorted with rage, his eyes bloodshot and wild. The contrast between his aggressive demeanor and Sophia's neat, if worn Santa outfit was stark and unsettling. Without hesitation, the man shoved past Angelina's bodyguards, seemingly unafraid of their imposing presence. Even when they pulled out their weapons and threatened him, he barely slowed his advance. "Get out of my way," he snarled at the guards, his focus entirely on Sophia. He roughly grabbed Sophia's arm, his grip visibly tight even through her sleeve. "What do you think you're doing? Wasting time with one customer?" he berated her, his voice low and menacing. Angelina's protective instincts flared. She stepped forward, placing herself between Sophia and the man. "Excuse me," she said, her voice firm and authoritative. "Who are you? What's your relationship to Sophia?" The man's eyes snapped to Angelina, taking in her elegant appearance with a sneer. "You rich folks always think you're something better," he spat, tightening his grip on Sophia's arm. "Now get out of my sight. This is none of your business." The contempt in his voice was palpable, but Angelina stood her ground. "I'm making it my business," she replied, her tone level but resolute. "You're hurting her. Let go of her arm." The man's face twisted into an ugly grin. "Oh, you care about her, do you? How touching. Well, let me tell you something, princess. You don't know anything about our lives. So why don't you toddle off back to your fancy car and leave us alone?" Angelina's bodyguards maintained their defensive positions, torn between protecting their client and avoiding escalation in such a public space. The tension in the air was palpable as market-goers began to notice the confrontation, some slowing their pace to watch the scene unfold. "I'm not leaving until I know Sophia is safe," Angelina insisted, her voice steady despite the growing crowd around them. "What you're doing is abuse, and I won't stand by and watch it happen." The man's eyes narrowed dangerously. "You're meddling in things you don't understand," he growled. "Last warning. Walk away now, or you'll regret it." Before Angelina could respond, he yanked Sophia's arm hard, causing the girl to stumble. "We're leaving," he snapped at Sophia, dragging her away from Angelina and her security team. Sophia managed one last glance over her shoulder at Angelina, her eyes conveying a mixture of fear and silent pleading that tore at the actress's heart. The small figure stumbled to keep up with the man's angry stride as they disappeared into the crowd. Angelina made to follow, but her lead bodyguard gently held her back. "Ms. Jolie," he said in a low, urgent voice, "we need to leave. People are starting to recognize you, and this situation could escalate quickly." Indeed, whispers were starting to ripple through the crowd. "Is that Angelina Jolie? What's going on? Should we call the police?" "Nah, couldn't be her, just someone who looks alike. Angelina Jolie won't be here in Christmas Eve." Her assistant, who had been hanging back during the confrontation, stepped forward and whispered. "We're going to be late for the event," she said, her voice strained with worry. "The organizers have been calling non-stop. We really need to go." Angelina stood frozen for a moment, torn between her professional obligations and the urge to chase after Sophia. The cake in her hands, which had seemed like such a simple purchase just moments ago, now felt like a weight, representing not just a transaction, but a connection to a child potentially in danger. With great reluctance, Angelina allowed her team to guide her back towards the limousine. As they walked, she couldn't shake the image of Sophia's fearful eyes from her mind. The contrast between the festive market atmosphere and the dark undercurrent she had just witnessed was jarring. Once inside the limousine, Angelina sat in silence, the carefully packaged carrot cake resting in her lap. Her assistant's voice seemed distant as she relayed urgent messages from the event organizers about her incoming scheduled speech. The chauffeur navigated through the crowded evening traffic, but Angelina's thoughts remained fixed on Sophia. As the limousine glided through the London streets, Angelina found herself at a crossroads. On one side lay her professional responsibilities, the speech she had prepared, and the expectations of the gala organizers. On the other, a child in need, a situation that demanded immediate attention. The digital clock on the limousine's console showed time slipping away. They were almost running late for the scheduled arrival. Her assistant's phone buzzed continuously with increasingly concerned messages from the event committee. They needed confirmation of her arrival time for security protocols and press arrangements. Angelina absently touched the cake's packaging, her mind replaying Sophia's transformation from joyful child to frightened victim. The contrast between her initial warm hug and her fearful departure became unbearable. With sudden resolve, she interrupted her assistant's event planning. "We need to go back," she announced, her voice firm and decisive. Her decision met immediate resistance. The bodyguards exchanged concerned glances, warning about potential dangers and suggesting the man might simply be strict rather than abusive. The chauffeur reminded her of the timing and traffic issues. Her assistant, looking increasingly panicked, emphasized the professional consequences of missing her speaking engagement. "This could damage your reputation," she warned. "The media will have a field day if you don't show up. It could affect future invitations to similar events, not to mention the disappointment of all those people expecting to hear your speech." But Angelina's mind was made up. "I understand the risks," she said, her voice steady, "but I can't ignore what we just saw. That child needs help and I'm in a position to provide it. Sometimes we have to choose what's right over what's expected." She turned to her assistant. "Contact the event committee. Tell them to prepare alternative arrangements in their rundown in case I don't arrive on time. Explain that an urgent humanitarian situation has come up." The authority in her voice left no room for argument. She then addressed the chauffeur. "Please turn around and take us back to the market." As the limousine executed a careful U-turn, Angelina felt a mix of anxiety and determination. She knew she was potentially burning professional bridges, but the image of Sophia's pleading eyes overrode all other concerns. As the limousine pulled up to the market once again, Angelina's determination had only grown. She stepped out of the vehicle with purpose, her white coat a stark contrast against the darkening evening sky. The market's atmosphere had shifted. There were fewer families now, replaced by adult shoppers making last-minute purchases. Angelina moved swiftly between the stalls, her eyes scanning every face, every corner. Her bodyguards struggled to maintain their protective formation around her as she weaved through the crowd. Some people whispered and pointed, recognizing the Hollywood star in their midst, but Angelina paid them no heed. "Sophia!" she called out, her voice barely audible above the market's noise. "Sophia!" She approached various vendors describing Sophia and the aggressive man. Most shook their heads, either unable or unwilling to help. Some recognized the girl but claimed ignorance about her whereabouts. The collective silence felt deliberate, suggesting a deeper story beneath the surface of the festive market. "Have you seen a young girl in a Santa outfit?" Angelina asked a woman selling handmade scarves. She was with a man, rough-looking, angry. The woman's eyes darted nervously before she shook her head. "Sorry, miss, haven't seen anyone like that." Angelina moved on, her frustration growing with each dead end. She was acutely aware of the time ticking away, of the gala she was missing, but those concerns felt distant and unimportant compared to finding Sophia. As she rounded a corner, Movement caught her eye, a small boy, no older than Sophia, lingering near the edge of the crowd. He watched people pass with a calculating gaze that seemed out of place on such a young face. Angelina observed as he deftly picked a wallet from an unsuspecting shopper's coat. Instead of alerting her security team, she made a split-second decision. This boy might be her best chance at finding Sophia. She followed him as he retreated toward a quiet alley, instructing her guards to maintain distance. The alley was dim, lit only by the overflow of light from the market. The boy, realizing he was followed, turned with fear in his eyes. "Please," he begged in broken English, "no police. I give back wallet. Promise." Angelina approached him gently, her hands raised to show she meant no harm. "I'm not here about the wallet," she said softly. "I'm looking for a girl named Sophia. Do you know her?" At the mention of Sophia's name, the boy's demeanor changed. Recognition flashed across his face, quickly followed by fear. He glanced around nervously, as if expecting someone to be watching. "Sophia, my friend," he said hesitantly, "but dangerous to talk. Bad men watch." Angelina knelt down to his level, her white coat gathering grime from the alley floor. "I want to help Sophia," she explained. "Can you tell me where she is?" The boy's eyes darted around once more before he leaned in close. "Sophia and me, we sometimes steal together," he whispered, "to survive. But now bad man makes her sell on Christmas. Says it's better cover." This new information added another layer to the mystery. Angelina's mind raced, trying to piece together the fragments of Sophia's life. "The man we saw earlier, is he Sophia's father?" The boy's expression darkened. "Not real father. He controls many children, makes them work. Sophia always moves with him. Hard to find." Angelina felt a chill that had nothing to do with the winter air. The situation was more complex and sinister than she had initially thought. She was no longer dealing with a case of individual abuse, but potentially a larger network of child exploitation. "How can we find Sophia?" she asked urgently. The boy considered for a moment. "Wait in market," he suggested. "Sophia and bad man always return to busy areas. More money there." Angelina nodded, then reached into her purse. She handed the boy a generous amount of money. "Thank you for your help," she said. "Now I want you to return that wallet to the man you took it from. Can you do that for me?" The boy's eyes widened at the money, then he nodded solemnly. "I do it, then I come back, wait with you?" "Yes," Angelina agreed, seeing an opportunity to keep the boy from returning to theft. "Come find me after you've returned the wallet. I'll be in the market." As the boy scurried off, Angelina emerged from the alley, her mind whirling with this new information. She rejoined her security team, who looked at her with a mixture of relief and exasperation. "Ms. Jolie," one of them began, "we really should—" But Angelina cut him off. "We're staying," she said firmly. "There's more going on here than we realized. We need to find Sophia." Her assistant called, her voice etched with stress. "The event organizers are furious," she reported. "They're threatening media consequences for your unexplained absence." Angelina took a deep breath, weighing her options. The professional part of her understood the gravity of missing such an important event. But the humanitarian in her, the part that had driven her to become an advocate for children's rights, knew she couldn't walk away from this situation. "Tell them I'm dealing with an urgent humanitarian issue. That's what their event is all about," she instructed her assistant. "Apologize on my behalf, but make it clear that I won't be able to attend." As her assistant hurried off to make the call, Angelina turned her attention back to the market. She positioned herself near a busy intersection of stalls, her eyes constantly scanning the crowd. The boy she had spoken to soon returned, clutching a pastry he had bought with the money she gave him. Together they waited, an unlikely pair united in their vigil for Sophia. As the night wore on and the market began to wind down, Angelina's determination never wavered. She knew that somewhere in this sea of festive lights and holiday cheer, a child needed her help, and she was prepared to wait all night if that's what it took to find her. After nearly an hour of waiting, Angelina finally spotted a familiar figure weaving through the now thinning crowd. Sophia, still dressed in her cheerful Santa outfit and clutching the basket of cakes and candies, walked carefully beside an elderly woman who leaned on her arm for support. The stark contrast between them was striking. Sophia's small, energetic frame next to the woman's frail, hunched posture told a quiet story of reliance and resilience. Angelina felt a surge of hope, but it was quickly tempered by caution. The boy beside her tensed, confirming that something was amiss. "I don't know her," he whispered, his eyes fixed on the old woman. As Angelina watched, she noticed something off about the woman's demeanor. There was a theatrical quality to her movements, an exaggerated care in the way she guided Sophia through the market. It didn't feel genuine. Taking a deep breath, Angelina approached them directly. "Sophia," she called out, her voice carrying over the ambient noise of the market. The girl's eyes lit up with recognition, but fear quickly shadowed her face. The elderly woman's grip on Sophia's arm tightened visibly. "Oh, hello there," the woman said, her voice syrupy sweet. "Can we help you with something?" Angelina stood her ground, her gaze moving between Sophia and the woman. "I'm concerned about Sophia's welfare," she said firmly. "We met earlier, and I saw her with a man who was behaving aggressively towards her." The elderly woman's face hardened, though her voice remained saccharine. "I'm sure you're mistaken, dear. Sophia is my granddaughter, and she's been with me all evening. Haven't you, sweetheart?" Sophia remained silent, her eyes fixed on the ground. Angelina crouched down to Sophia's eye level. "Sophia," she said gently, "is this woman your grandmother?" For a moment, Sophia seemed frozen. Then, drawing courage from Angelina's presence, she shook her head. Suddenly, as if a dam had broken, she cried out, "Help me, please!" The elderly woman's grip tightened further, but Sophia's outburst provided the justification Angelina's security team needed to intervene. They quickly moved in, creating a barrier between the woman and Sophia. Panicked, the woman attempted to flee with Sophia, but Angelina's bodyguards intercepted them in a back alley. Cornered, the woman's theatrical demeanor cracked. All right, she said, her voice losing its sugary tone. "I'm not her grandmother. The name's Merrill. I used to be an actress, you know. Worked the West End in my day." Angelina felt a mix of disgust and pity. "Why are you involved in this? What's your role?" Merrill's eyes darted around nervously. "Look, I didn't mean any harm. Sophia's new father, he hired me. Said I could help make the girl more sympathetic, attract more donations. He has other children to manage. If I failed, they'd make me pay them instead. I needed the money, you see." As Merrill spoke, a hint of professional recognition crossed her face. "Wait a minute. Aren't you Angelina Jolie? Oh, what a small world. I loved you in Girl Interrupted." Angelina ignored the attempt at flattery. "This new father you mentioned, he's part of something bigger, isn't he? A network exploiting children?" Merrill's face paled. I don't know much about that. This was just a one-time job for me, but yes, I got the impression there were others involved. The man, he's dangerous, controls many children, but I don't know where he is now." Angelina considered her options. "Merrill, I'm giving you a choice. You can leave now or you can stay and help us. But know that if you leave, I'll be reporting everything you've told me to the authorities." The old woman's shoulders sagged. "I'm sorry, truly I am. I never meant for things to go this far, but I can't get more involved. He'd come after me." She looked at Sophia with genuine regret. "I'm sorry, child. I hope you find safety." With that, Merrill turned and hurried away, disappearing into the night. Angelina knelt beside Sophia, who was trembling but seemed relieved. "You're safe now," she assured the girl. "Can you tell me what's really going on? Where's your mother?" Sophia's voice quavered as she began to share her story. "My real father left us long ago. Mama and we lived on the streets. Then this man came. His name's Desmond. He seemed nice at first, helped when Mama got sick, but then—" Her voice trailed off, and Angelina gently encouraged her to continue. "He changed, made me work selling things or begging, said we owed him. He gives Mama white powder that makes her sleep all the time. I'm scared for her." Angelina's heart ached at the girl's words. She was about to respond when a familiar voice cut through the night air. "Sophia, where are you, you little brat?" The man from earlier had returned, his voice slurring slightly, suggesting he'd been drinking. Sophia shrank back, pressing herself against Angelina. As the man came into view, his previous aggression turned predatory when he spotted Angelina. "Well, well," he leered, "if it isn't the rich white lady. Been looking for me, have you? Lonely on Christmas night?" Angelina's bodyguards moved into defensive positions, while Sophia clutched at her coat. Desmond's demeanor grew increasingly threatening as he demanded Sophia's return. Standing firm, Angelina faced him. "Sophia doesn't have to obey you anymore," she said, her voice carrying authority. "I'm involving the police. This ends now." The man's face twisted into an ugly sneer. "You have no idea who you're dealing with, Princess. I've got connections you couldn't imagine. This goes way beyond one little girl. How about we save you some trouble? Return the girl to me and you can enjoy your fancy Christmas Eve." His threats escalated, hinting at ties to organized crime and a larger network of child exploitation. But Angelina stood her ground, her resolve strengthened by Sophia's trembling form beside her. Suddenly the man lunged toward Sophia, his movements swift and menacing. Startled, the girl let out a sharp cry and bolted, darting toward a cluster of tents in the distance. "Mama!" she yelled, her voice trembling with fear. The man chased after her, his voice cutting through the cold air like a blade. "Stop, you little brat! Your mother can't help you! No one can help you!" Desmond shouted, his tone dripping with malice. Angelina's heart surged with adrenaline. Without a second thought, she kicked off her heels and sprinted after them, her white dress billowing behind her and trailing through the snow. Her guards reacted instantly, one pulling out his phone to call the police while the other split off to pursue Desmond, determination etched into his stride. As she ran through the winding alleys, Angelina's mind raced. She knew she was potentially putting herself in danger, but the thought of abandoning Sophia was unthinkable. This chase through the dark streets of London was far from the glittering gala she was supposed to be attending, but Angelina had never felt more certain of her purpose. The night was far from over, and the true extent of the danger they faced was yet to be revealed. But in that moment, as she ran through the snow-covered alleys, Angelina was exactly where she needed to be, fighting for a child who had no one else to turn to. The chase ended at a makeshift tent, barely visible in the shadows of a narrow alley. Sophia disappeared inside, her small form swallowed by the ragged fabric. Angelina paused for a moment, catching her breath, her designer dress now smeared with dirt and snow. She could hear muffled voices from inside the tent, Sophia's high-pitched, urgent tones mixed with a slurred, barely coherent response. "Mama, wake up," Sophia pleaded, shaking her mother's shoulder. "We have to go." Before her mother could respond, there was a commotion outside. Angelina's bodyguard had managed to subdue the new father, and the sounds of a struggle filled the air. Angelina pushed aside the tent flap and entered. The scene inside made her heart sink. Sophia was kneeling beside a thin mattress where a woman lay in a semi-conscious state. This had to be Sophia's mother. Her eyes were unfocused, her movements sluggish. Scattered around her were small packets of white powder, stark evidence of the new father's control. Angelina knelt beside them, her movements careful and deliberate. The mother's glazed eyes flickered with faint recognition, widening slightly at the sight of her. Angelina placed a reassuring hand on Sophia's shoulder and spoke softly, her voice steady and calm. "Sophia," she said gently, "we need to get help for your mother. She's very sick. Let me take care of this, okay?" Moments later, the wail of police sirens cut through the frosty night air, growing louder with each passing second. The sound drew the attention of bystanders, and soon a cluster of officers swarmed the area. Emerging from the tent, Angelina held Sophia close to her side, offering the frightened girl a sense of security. As the police approached, their expressions shifted, recognition sparking in their eyes as they registered Angelina's identity. Her presence and calm demeanor lent immediate weight to her account of what had happened, leaving no doubt in their minds about the urgency of the situation. Desmond, now caught between Angelina's influence and police authority, attempted to backpedal. "Ms. Jolie," he exclaimed, his tone suddenly ingratiating, "I'm a huge fan of your movies. This is all just a big misunderstanding." Angelina's face remained stern. "Officers," she addressed the police, This isn't just about one man. This man here had confessed there's potentially a larger network exploiting homeless children and vulnerable families operating beneath this market's surface. She went on to provide details about Meryl, the elderly woman who had posed as Sophia's grandmother. She claimed to be a former performer, hired to help exploit Sophia's ability to attract sympathy and donations. She could be another victim, or potentially involved with the organized criminal activity. As the police took notes and secured the scene, Angelina turned her attention back to Sophia and her mother's immediate needs. She approached one of the officers, her voice low but firm. "The mother needs immediate medical attention and rehabilitation," she explained. "I'd like to arrange for her to be taken to a private facility where she can receive the care she needs discreetly." The officer nodded, impressed by Angelina's hands-on approach. "We'll need to process her first, Miss Jolie, but we can expedite things given the circumstances." Angelina then knelt beside Sophia, who was watching the flurry of activity with wide, frightened eyes. "Sophia," she said softly, "your mother is going to get the help she needs, and you're going to be safe now, I promise." Tears welled up in Sophia's eyes as she threw her arms around Angelina. The embrace was filled with relief, fear, and tentative hope, a stark contrast to their first hug in the market just hours ago. As the night wore on, Angelina remained a constant presence, coordinating with the police, social services, and her own contacts to ensure Sophia and her mother received the best possible care. She arranged for temporary housing through a local friend, promising Sophia that she would personally oversee their care while everything was sorted out with the authorities. Angelina knelt down beside Sophia, who was watching the flurry of activity with wide, frightened eyes. "Sophia," she said softly, her voice gentle and reassuring, "I want to talk to you about what's going to happen next." Sophia looked up at her, tears glistening in her eyes. "What about Mama? Will they take her away?" Angelina took Sophia's small hands in hers. "Your mother needs help, Sophia. She's very sick, but I promise you we're going to make sure she gets the best care possible." She paused, making sure Sophia was following her words. "I'm going to pay for your mother to go to a special place where doctors can help her get better. It's called rehabilitation." Sophia's brow furrowed. "But where will I go?" "That's what I wanted to talk to you about," Angelina said, her voice warm. "I have a friend here in London. She has a nice, safe apartment, and she's agreed to let you stay there for a little while. Just until we can sort everything out with the authorities. Would that be okay with you?" Sophia bit her lip, clearly uncertain. Will you be there?" Angelina smiled. "I'll visit you every day that I can, and I promise you, Sophia, this is just temporary. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure you and your mother have a proper home, and once things are more settled, we'll make sure you can go to school too." Sophia's eyes widened. "School, really?" "Really," Angelina confirmed. "Every child deserves an education, and I'm going to make sure you get that opportunity." Tears welled up in Sophia's eyes again, but this time they seemed to be tears of relief and hope rather than fear. Without warning, she threw her arms around Angelina, hugging her tightly. Angelina returned the embrace, feeling the trust building between them. This tearful hug was so different from their first encounter in the market. It marked the beginning of a potential recovery for both Sophia and her mother. As they separated, Angelina wiped a tear from Sophia's cheek. "We're going to get through this together, okay? I promise you, things are going to get better." Sophia nodded, a small smile breaking through her tears. "Thank you," she whispered. Angelina stood up, keeping hold of Sophia's hand. As they walked towards the waiting car that would take them to her friend's apartment, Angelina felt a renewed sense of purpose. She knew the road ahead would be challenging, but seeing the hope in Sophia's eyes made her more determined than ever to see this through, to ensure that this child and her mother got the fresh start they deserved. The market, once filled with holiday cheer, now buzzed with police activity as she, Sophia, and her guards left the market. The festive lights cast an eerie glow over the scene as officers combed the area for evidence and interviewed vendors. The facade of Christmas joy had been stripped away, revealing the harsh realities that often lurked beneath the surface. This Christmas Eve had been far from what she had planned, but it had reaffirmed her commitment to using her influence for meaningful change. As the first rays of sunlight touched the snow-covered streets, Angelina silently vowed to see this through, no matter the personal or professional cost. For in Sophia's rescue, she had found a renewed purpose, a reminder of why she had become an advocate for children's rights in the first place. As the evening wore on, Angelina's limousine wound its way through the still busy London streets. Inside, Sophia sat close to her, still wearing her tattered Santa outfit, clutching the remains of her cake basket. The contrast between the luxury of the vehicle and Sophia's worn appearance was stark, a visual reminder of the vast disparity Angelina had witnessed over the night. Angelina pulled out her phone and began making urgent calls. Her first was to her trusted friend Lara, who she had just arranged to house Sophia temporarily. "Lara, it's Angelina again. We're on our way now. Thank you so much for doing this on such short notice," she said, her voice low to avoid disturbing Sophia, who was gazing out the window with wide, tired eyes. After confirming the final details with Lara, Angelina moved on to her next call. "This is Angelina Jolie," she said firmly to the person on the other end. "I need to arrange immediate admission for a patient to your rehabilitation facility. This is a high-priority, confidential case." She spoke in hushed tones, insisting on discretion and immediate action. The facility agreed to send an ambulance to collect Sophia's mother directly from the police station, ensuring there would be no gap in supervision during her transfer. As she ended the call, Angelina noticed her assistant watching her with a mixture of admiration and concern. "Ms. Jolie," the assistant began hesitantly, "the event organizers have been trying to reach you all night. They're not happy." Angelina took a deep breath, steeling herself for the professional fallout of her actions. She held Sophia's hand. "I will deal with the press later," she instructed. Her assistant nodded, fingers flying over her tablet as she began composing the statement. Angelina knew that her absence from the gala would likely damage her reputation in some circles, but as she looked at Sophia's exhausted face, she felt certain she had made the right choice. The limousine pulled up to a well-maintained apartment building where Lara was waiting. As they helped Sophia out of the car, Lara greeted them with a warm smile. Come in," she ushered them inside. "I've prepared a room for you, Sophia. Are you hungry? I can make you some breakfast." Sophia, overwhelmed and tired, clung to Angelina's hand as they entered the apartment. Her eyes widened at the sight of a small Christmas tree in the corner, decorated simply, but with care. As Sophia explored her temporary home, Angelina pulled Lara aside. "Thank you for doing this," she said softly. "I know it's a lot to ask, especially on such short notice." Lara waved off her thanks. "After what you did for me, Angie, this is the least I can do. You helped me escape that prostitution ring and gave me a chance at a new life. I'm just paying it forward." Angelina squeezed her friend's hand gratefully, then turned back to Sophia. "Sophia, sweetheart," she said gently, kneeling down to the girl's level. "I have to go take care of some things, but I promise I'll be back soon. Lara is going to take good care of you, okay?" Sophia's lower lip trembled. "You're leaving?" "Only for a little while," Angelina assured her. "I need to make sure your mother gets the help she needs, and talk to some people who can help us make sure you're safe. But I promise you, I'm not abandoning you. I'll be back tomorrow before you know it." After many reassurances and a tearful goodbye, Angelina finally left the apartment. As she stepped back into the limousine, she felt the weight of the night's events settling on her shoulders. But along with the exhaustion came a sense of purpose and determination. Angelina turned to her assistant, her voice steady and commanding. "Cancel all my appointments for the next week and extend my stay here in London. Rebook my flight," she instructed, her words sharp and to the point. With a focused look, she added, "And get me in touch with my lawyers right away. I need him here first thing tomorrow morning. We need to begin arrangements for temporary guardianship of Sophia, restraining orders against that man, Desmond, and coordinate with local child services. I want everything in motion by the morning." As the limousine pulled away from the curb, Angelina gazed out at the city light of London. now fully awake and bustling with Christmas Eve activity. The Christmas market where this journey had begun now seemed a distant memory, but its impact was indelibly etched in her mind and heart. She rolled down the window and took a deep breath of the crisp night air, her thoughts swirling with the events of the past hours. What had started as an unplanned stop, a whimsical detour from her carefully scheduled evening, had led to potentially saving lives. Sophia and her mother now had a chance at a better future, free from exploitation and abuse. This realization reinforced Angelina's long-held belief in the power of active involvement over passive observation. It wasn't enough to simply talk about making a difference. Real change came from rolling up one's sleeves and diving into the messy, complicated work of helping those in need. The night had been a vivid reminder of why she had become an advocate for children's rights in the first place. It represented everything Christmas should be, not a celebration of excess and celebrity, but a time for compassion, for making a real difference in people's lives. This unexpected Christmas adventure had rekindled something in her, a passion for direct action, for getting her hands dirty in the work of changing lives. As the city lights blurred past the window, Angelina made a silent promise to herself and to all the Sophias of the world. She would continue to fight for them, to be a voice for the voiceless, and to never lose sight of the true meaning of compassion and service.